Welcome back to the DrossCast podcast. We are the Dross Squad. First up, we have Slay.
How do you do today?
All right. Next, we got Kat.
Hello. Cats sweat through their paws. Fun fact.
Interesting. Next up, we have Akko.
Sometimes I sweat through my hands.
Akko's a cat. And I am Bob. I'll be your host today. And for this week, our topic that we'll be discussing is going to be Game of Thrones. We're going to kind of go over which house we feel like we'd want to be a part of, where we think this season is going and how it's going to end. And just to let you know, there could be spoilers if you have not seen up to season 8. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you might want to tune out now and catch up quick.
You should have tuned out a long time
Yeah,
ago.
you should have probably tuned out a long
To be
time
honest.
ago. And then we're just going to talk about some of our favorite parts, I guess. All right, so who wants to start?
Well, I should not start. I know the least.
All right.
I
Yes,
am not cut up on
Slay-
any Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Slay has not watched really any of Game of Thrones.
I watched
She has
the
a basic understanding, but
watched the first 2 episodes of season 8.
yes. So she's caught up in season 8.
Did you not watch all when Bob was watching? Like, not even like snippets here? and
Well,
there?
yeah, snippets. Like, I know generally what's going on, but I couldn't tell. Like, sometimes when you guys are going off into names, if it's not like
Oh, I forget a lot
the
of people's
main
names too.
3
Oh, yeah.
people, I have no
Yeah,
idea.
there's so many
Yeah.
names in that show. It's
It's-
one of those things where, like, we were talking about even before recording when Akko was taking a quiz for what house he was. It's just like there's even houses that we don't even remember what their like
Yeah.
relevance was. At least in the TV show, I think in the books they probably do a better job of explaining.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
huge backstory when I tried to do wiki it. It was quite intense and I was very lost.
Also,
Yeah.
the important thing to note, I think, is that none of us have actually read the books. So if you are a book fan and not a show fan, this is probably not the podcast for you. See you next week. Maybe.
Yep.
If you're really bored next week, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I don't know. I was gonna say I'll start. I haven't really picked the house I want because, of course, the one that most people would pick besides Slay, because I know where she's going with it. Their safe bet would be House Stark.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us took quizzes online to see which house we would go into. The house I got was House Aaron. I don't want to be a part of that house.
What was
You
Aaron
don't want
again?
to breastfeed till you're 10?
In the mountains.
But
Yes.
you get the cool
the moon door.
moon door.
Yeah, you do get that, but I
get
feel
the
like I'd
Spartacus.
probably get pushed down it.
You get the
So,
Part
Spartacus
of the
kick.
house. They wouldn't
Yeah.
People
use it
down.
against you.
huh?
But you're part of the house.
The lady
This
there
is
got thrown
Sparta.
down it.
That was a
Just
Spartacus.
don't fuck up.
Well, yeah, but it's a Spartan kick.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
up to the
but
little kid. He
Spartacus
just wants to
wasn't
see everyone fall.
from
Whatever.
Sparta.
Whatever.
That's a really
You
important
can
thing.
Spartan
to note.
kick people down that moon
Sparta
door.
kick. Yes.
Yep.
300 them.
300 them. There we
Yeah.
Yes.
go.
I mean, I don't think, as far as like houses go, at least we all know who House Aaron was.
I don't.
And they weren't like, okay, you don't count for anything. And they don't, like, I feel like they're not the worst by far of what you could have gotten, but at the same time, like, they're kind of a smaller house. I think my problem with being an Aaron would be the fact that you have to live, like, up a million miles high, because
Yeah.
I'm definitely afraid of heights, so that would just not be the place for me.
Yeah, I could not look down the moon door. Like, just watching the TV and looking down the moon door gave me anxiety.
That's because you're a pussy.
Okay. All right. It's a serious disorder. Thank you.
We should have looked up the term for that, because we both have it.
Yeah.
Whatever phobia of heights is. I mean, there's gotta-
Acrophobia or something like that.
could
There's
be.
a
Of
think it
legit
is.
term for it.
course there
Akko,
is.
Yeah.
are you afraid of heights? Not generally.
Not really.
I don't know that
I'm like afraid of them at first, but like give me like 10 seconds, then I'm fine.
I think I have more of a fear of falling than I do of a fear of heights.
I feel
Like,
like
True.
that's why, like, I took that story of the kid at the Mall of America so hard is because every time I'm there and I look down from the 3rd floor, like, I'm about to pass out.
Right?
Like, my heart starts beating, like, really fast and I start almost sweating.
Really?
Yeah.
You have like a physical reaction to it?
Yeah.
Yes.
If I don't if
Oh.
I'm walking ever by the edge of like the 3rd floor of the Mall of America, like I have to hold the railing. Like I don't just like casually
Yeah.
like I don't know, walk along the
I like to watch
side.
the people down there. I like
And
the
I was
people
gonna say
watch.
that that's
I
the
don't
issue
like
too, is because I don't like looking down it, but also when you look down it, you can see down girls' shirts, which is really fun. But
So you should be house Aaron. You clearly want to breastfeed to your 10.
yeah, I guess so.
It matches.
It all makes sense.
So it fits. It fits.
So moving from, I guess, building on that discussion of what you were just saying about the houses, I was one of those, I guess, normies that would pick House Stark, but I too took a quiz to see what house, and it said people of the North, so I guess it didn't specify Starks. There are other northern families, but none of which I care anything about, so I'm sticking with the Starks and just being that person.
On that note, go back to Bobby. Would you be the main house?
You mean, well, Bob.
I don't care. Bobby.
Would
It's
you
the same.
be the main house, or would you just be an average? You know, would you be inside that house? What would you want to be?
The
No?
kid who's breastfeeding. So
Okay.
I
that's
don't know, he's
pretty-
a little bitch, though.
No, he is.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
want to be him because he's just a sadistic little fuck who can't back it up with any skills. He gets destroyed in battle all the time.
Just like
Yeah,
you.
I don't like him, and he gets slapped by Sansa.
I mean, can you even, like, name, aside from, like, the
Which actually-
Catelyn's sister or the breastfeeding kid, like, do you even really know any other Aarons that you could even choose from?
No, I'm just saying,
No,
like,
it was
maybe you wanted to be the person in charge of the stick. Maybe you want to be a merchant. Maybe you want to be a blacksmith. Like, you don't have to be like
Well,
the
that
main
kinda-
house, that main person. Like, would do any of those jobs interest
If you're
you?
in the house, if you are, like, in one of those prestigious houses, you aren't a blacksmith. Like, those are common people that don't come from these
Yeah,
houses.
but you're still a part. You're still a.
royalty at that point.
You might be part of their, like, you might be part of their, where their house
I was
rules.
just saying, you're the
but-
northern people, so.
Well, right, but that's
Oh.
a little bit more.
Are you a
open 'cause there's
wolf
more
trainer?
families. But if I was a Stark, like, there's
I
no
would be.
Stark that's like, okay, well, this Stark is, like, they sell bread on the corner. Like,
true.
I wish there was.
Yes.
I mean, maybe that's what the little one, whatever his name was, would have grown up to
Rickon.
be. Rickon, yeah.
Yeah, most likely. He wasn't going to amount to anything.
No. Like,
I mean, Moran's already got the three-eyed raven thing going for him.
yeah.
So
I think that's one cool thing about the House of Stark is that each character, like, at least of the children, all are, like, known for being one specific thing, or, like, they all have some sort of, essentially, superpower, for lack of a better term, or quirk if you want to relate it back to last week's episode.
Okay, so as a non-Game of Thrones person, is there a reason that the Starks have powers? Or is it just the Starks have powers?
because they're basically the main characters.
Yeah. Like, that's
Oh.
set up
Yeah,
from
they're just
season
awesome.
one.
They
that
got
they're the
they got
best
plot
house.
armor.
Yeah.
Which is why,
Well, not all of them, but
and
some
then-
of them.
I mean, I guess we'll talk about this more when we talk about our predictions for the end of the series, but I think that's why a lot of us, when we found out about Jon Snow and kind of the fact that he does have a claim to the Iron Throne, I think that's why a lot of us are leaning towards he'll probably be the one to get it, because since season 1, he's been set up as a good character, whereas even,
Yeah.
I mean, Daenerys was always set up to be, I guess, a character that you liked, but in the beginning, like, she was really just a slave girl that was sold to the Dothraki. Like, she wasn't really important. So I think she has the most growth, but I don't think she was set up
Yeah.
from the beginning to be the queen. I think she was set up to be
But
about
John
John
didn't
has
even-
seen both the poverty and the rich. He's seen both lifestyles too.
Yeah,
so
'cause he
like
was a
him being the
bastard.
king, he's more fair.
Okay, going back to these the Starks with superpowers, they didn't even come up with, like, a lazy way of explaining it. Like, oh, they were blessed by the gods.
I think it had something to do with the
Or-
children. Because wasn't it something to do with that? Like, because they're closest to
It's
the
just,
north.
oh, they have these powers.
So, like,
yeah,
Well,
you gotta
I
go
don't think
with
that
it.
they necessarily have power. So, like, a lot of it was things that they learned. So, aside from Bran essentially getting the three-eyed raven thing, which is obviously, like, a whole other, like, worldly type power, I think everybody else is just kind of badass in their own way, but which you could relate back to a superpower. So, for example, like, Arya
Arya.
learned her skills as a warrior from people that she met along her journey. So, it wasn't something she was born with. It wasn't like she was just automatically good at those things. She had to work for it. So you get to see that throughout the show. I mean, Jon Snow came back from the dead, so I guess that's a cool superpower. But again, it wasn't
That was
something
that he
Red
chose.
Devil woman.
Yeah.
yeah,
Whatever brought him back.
Devil
Vagina
Snatch.
snatch.
Yeah.
Devil Snatch.
Oh,
yeah,
Devil
yeah.
Snatch. what we
Which
call
brings me to something Slay and I were talking about. Is that was the one thing that confused me, that when Devil Snatch was with Stannis and they fucked, and then she gave birth to that, like, demon thing that came out and killed Stannis' brother just so he would
Claim the
like,
throne.
yeah.
Or claim the whatever.
have the claim to the throne, undoubtedly. Then we never saw it again. The demon was gone. He didn't even show up at the battle at King's Landing.
That's true.
Like, he could have really helped
Whatever
them,
happened to
but
that demon? Or was it destroyed? Was it like a one-time use, you know?
it must have been.
It was like a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Use it once and you're
It
done.
just came up, stabbed the brother, and then just gone.
Well, I think for those of you that are listening who don't probably know who we mean by Devil Snatch, we're talking about the Red Witch, obviously.
Melisandre.
Yeah, she's the one who birthed the demon, thus the name Devil Snatch. I think, like, she kind of, because she was there at the end of season 7 when Jon Snow met Daenerys,
Oh, yeah.
or right before Jon Snow met Daenerys, I should say.
She'll show up again.
So she's gonna show up again. There's no way they're just gonna leave that be like, okay, she's not coming back, because they, like, she did play a pretty big part in the series for a while, just not as of late. So I think her and her demon baby.
You still have, like, what, 4 episodes?
Yeah, we have 4 episodes left. The last 2 are going to be an hour and a half versus an hour, for what I heard from my sister. So who knows if that's a reliable source of information.
Yeah.
But that's what I've heard. But when I watched interviews of the cast about the last season, they said they wanted each episode to be like a movie, like a freestanding, like every single one they wanted to be epic, and that's why they did so few episodes, because basically they wanted to blow out the budget for each episode. They wanted to go all out for each episode. So I think even though we only have 4 episodes left, we're like, we have a fuck ton of content coming our way.
Well, how come they didn't do a movie for each episode? Was there some reason behind it?
Money, probably. I don't know. They have a pretty big budget by now, but...
I know.
They've done a
That
great
dragon
job.
scene was pretty kick-ass.
True.
They were flying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I thought you meant when they were, like, kissing and the dragon just, like,
Oh,
was giving serious side eyes to
Speaking
Jon.
of
watching
that,
you.
No.
so I remember when we were watching that, and like both Jon and Daenerys took off on the dragons. Like, to myself, I don't know if I said it out loud or if it was just in my head, but I was singing A Whole New World during it. And
That's fantastic.
yeah, and then I was on like Facebook yesterday, and there was a video, and it says, "Why does A Whole New World fit so well with this?" And it showed that scene. I was like, "I'm not the only
my
one."
God.
All right,
It does.
cool. But yeah, I could definitely see how they've just been using their budget to the max, because they put another thing out on HBO that kind of looked at the season so far and what they've done, and like they did such small details at, I think, like around the castle, like on the inside, and I don't remember where they were because I didn't see them, but they carved out like little direwolf statues and placed them like everywhere around, and they're like if fans notice this, that's awesome. If they don't, I mean, it was just something for us, I guess. But,
Yeah.
But I thought that was really cool.
You
that
kidding
they
me?
did
There's
stuff like
fans that notice that shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Like,
Definitely.
that fandom for Game of Thrones is going to be one of those ones that never dies, even though the show is ending, like Star Trek or Harry Potter. Like, there's just those people out there that once they get fixated on these things, they don't ever let it
Well,
go.
not to mention the books aren't done, so they're going to be
and
all over that.
From what I've heard is the author plans on having a really different ending in the books than he did in the show, just because otherwise why would people read? I mean, the people that aren't that interested in the books, I think if they're going to take the same characters but put them on a somewhat different journey, it gives those people that are super sad the show's ending another opportunity to get new stories with their favorite characters.
Yeah.
But going back to our houses, so me and Bob have kind of said what we thought for the houses, but we still have to hear from Slay and Akko.
Wait.
For what house?
Aaron Stark.
Mm-hmm. Stark, yeah.
So Stark.
They just said
Yeah,
Northerners,
Stark.
so I'm
Yeah.
not. I mean, who wants to be a fucking Bolton?
Well,
Let's be
actually,
real here.
You might be the wildlings then.
Oh yeah,
Which I would definitely want to be one of those.
I'd be okay with that, but
Yeah.
only if I could be
Gotta
like
fuck to
friends
stay
with
warm.
Tormund because he's
Exactly.
like he's
Yes.
awesome.
Tormund's my favorite.
He is so good. I hope that he gets with Brienne before.
Which one's Tormund?
He's
The
the
redhead.
Redbeard who
Really likes
I
Brienne.
can't. He loves
Really likes
Giant's
the
milk.
Woman Knight.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, Giant's milk.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
And that's going to come into play on some of my predictions at the end, too. Is a thing between them, which everyone sees coming anyway, but I'll get to that later.
All right, Akko, why don't you say what you got, and then we'll get to Slay's
Alright,
house.
well, I did the same thing as everybody else, took a quiz, and I got Martell,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't remember shit about them.
None of us could
Yeah,
really.
it took me a second to remember who they were. I was like, I know the name, but I can't
Okay,
remember.
explain them to me.
They were this house there from the city of Dorne, and I don't know, it's
They
really
basically were
strange.
isolated.
Yeah, they're
out
very
of all the
isolated.
kingdoms.
Their king was very like passive, didn't want to do anything. His brother basically his life was seeking vengeance for his sister, his and the king's sister, who was basically raped and killed by the mountain.
Mm.
Was part of the
Bjorn.
Lannisters. Was the mountain part of?
Pretty much. I mean,
he's not a Lannister, but he works for the Lannisters.
Yeah, he's like a mercenary. He's
Okay.
hired by them, and now he's basically just Cersei's.
Yeah.
Little bitch.
But yeah. But I don't want to spoil too much, I guess, about that. But yeah, that was their story, and then
Pretty much they wanted revenge, but then they're passive, and then some shit went down, and
yada yada yada.
yada yada yada. They became unimportant.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
Yep. They're important and then unimportant.
Yeah.
So what house would you want to be in?
If I had a choice, I'd rather say Stark, just because fucking direwolves.
Yeah.
I was gonna say nobody wanted to be a
Targaryen.
Targaryen. See, this is how
embarrassing.
Well,
dumb
first
I
off,
am.
I'm a guy, so I can't be the mother of dragons. So.
Oh, you could be
And-
her little bitch brother that gets killed in like the
Yeah,
first season.
yeah.
And not to mention the entire house just got slaughtered.
But
Yeah, they're all
Jon
dead.
Snow. Okay, spoiler here, but Jon Snow is a
Ah,
Targaryen.
da, da, da.
We told you this
Whoa,
was happening.
spoiler,
If you're
spoiler.
if you're still listening and are mad
Yeah,
about
so
spoilers.
there's
You're
two
still
left.
listening on
There's
episode
two left.
4.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
But early prediction, they're gonna battle each other. Definitely gonna happen at some
It's
point.
either in some way or another.
yeah.
Yes.
But
Whether
I mean,
it's mental game or actual physical.
yeah.
Yep.
And I think for sure
Or
one
maybe
of
it's
those two.
sexual.
Yes.
Hopefully. Hopefully it's a little of both there.
I mean, I think that it's pretty popular opinion in that one of the two of them will end up on the Iron Throne. I think it's pretty split as to which one because people have very different opinions on that. But
I still like the idea of Arya.
Yeah.
wearing somebody else's face, though.
Yep.
What I think is gonna happen
You think
is
it's Jon Snow, but then really takes off the face. It's her.
after the
Oh.
battle with the White Walkers, I think Jaime's gonna kill Cersei.
I do
Give
too.
it to Brienne.
I don't think he's gonna give it to Brienne, but I do think Jaime will
Brienne
kill
and
Cersei.
Tormund are gonna rule the Seven Kingdoms.
I mean, I would.
Quote me on this.
I mean, I'd pay to watch that show.
That was
Just
not my
like-
prediction for
just a
those two, by the
spin-off.
way.
I want to see that spin-off though,
I
where
would
Brienne
love to see that.
and Tormund just get to rule the Seven Kingdoms.
Just a
I'm-
comedy spin-off
Yeah.
of those two. That'd
What
be great.
shenanigans will ensue? Oh.
I
The
read
giant comes back to claim her baby.
Oh my god.
one. Oh shit. I read one thing which kind of spoiled it for me. Where people were making, they're wondering off who's going to get killed off next, and I could totally see Bran be next.
Bran?
Brienne.
With Red Raven? I can see that too. No, he's gonna get the iron wheelchair.
He's gonna pimp his ride out.
Oh, but that was basically
for
what
him.
my prediction was gonna be. Is Brienne's not gonna be the first to die.
No,
Tormund's gonna step in the way
It's
and
gonna
take
be-
it for her.
no, it's gonna be.
But she will die.
Yep.
She's going to die
Those two will either die together, or
with lips locked.
no. But no, it's gonna be. I'm betting it's who's the bastard who has claim to the throne that
Jon Snow.
Arya,
What?
Oh, the
Arya slept
Baratheon.
with.
Oh,
the
Gendry
blacksmith.
or whatever.
yeah, Gendry.
I feel like he's gonna be the first one because in every show, whoever has sex for the first time,
That's true.
But it wasn't his first time. It was
Oh.
Arya's.
it's Arya's
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
But
She's not gonna die.
Can we also talk about how
He's,
that's
like,
kind of a weird
unimportant now.
pairing? Like, I would not have really... up until right now, I would not have put those two together.
Speaking of that,
The world's gonna end, man.
oh my
I mean,
god.
that's fine, but...
So
Pop that cherry.
I love this thing. I saw this online too. Is they mentioned that Arya actually went to the roof to sleep with the Hound, but then got cockblocked by Beric.
Oh my god.
So she went and found
Gross.
Gendry.
That would be so
I
funny.
know.
oh,
The face that they put as a meme for that was hilarious.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I think, like Slay was saying, it's the end of the world, so I don't think it was, like, she's madly in love with him, but still, like, up until, like, that episode, I really never saw them as any sort of couple. Like, I saw them being, like, friends to some extent because she wanted him to build her a weapon, but...
cool thing is I did watch her interview where she talked about the scene because now that's
Oh, yeah?
out. So apparently she got the script and Sansa got the script and I don't know which one said what to other, but they're like, you have to read this. I don't know if it was Sansa to Arya or Arya to Sansa. And they're both like, what? Sex scene? What? And apparently the director or whatever came
What
up to
sex
her.
scene in Game of Thrones? What?
Well, this is her first time ever, and
Well,
Yeah.
no,
you
but
know,
did
She was a
that
kid when they
surprise?
started.
she was a kid when they
Fuck that.
started,
Very
so like,
young.
yeah. So I don't even know how old she is right now, but I'm assuming probably.
Well,
I
I
think
know-
she's only like probably 21, 22.
Yeah, she's early
Yeah.
20s. I know. I think when. Oh man, I can't remember. I know Bran's actor, who I forget his name. My bad. But I think he was 10 when the show started, and she's older than him. So.
Right.
I mean, she's over. I mean, she's of age. It's not like they're raping
Yeah,
children.
but all I remember is the director came up to her and was like, so you have to do the scene, but you can choose how much you want to show.
Yeah, and she only showed, like, spoiler, half a butt inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she
That's
was saying
tasteful
Anya's
nudity.
more
It
about...
was.
Tasteful nudity.
And that's why I didn't notice those little carvings of the dire wolves, because I was
So fixated
so
on her
focused on
half-ass.
that. Yeah. I was like,
oh my god.
oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's what we love.
But yeah, Arya's definitely my favorite character. I mean, that's
Really?
probably a shared opinion by many.
Not
I
by me.
still...
Well,
I like
yeah,
her, but
yeah,
I wouldn't call her my
I
favorite.
still get very confused with the whole faceless gods.
I wish they
portion.
would have done a little bit more with that. Like, I
Yeah.
loved how she got the revenge on the phrase by using that.
Yeah.
But I really wish she would have, like, I wanted to see her do this more. And I'm sure they maybe will by the end of this season.
Because I feel like it's all
but-
that potential, and all we see is this just the phrase so far.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So before we get into our predictions any more than we
Anyways.
already have started to, I think Slay should talk about her house.
Yes.
Oh, Lannisters. They're my favorite. They're awesome. I am Cersei's. She's the best. End of conversation.
Incest.
So Slay doesn't have a brother, but what she's saying is if she did, she'd totally be boning him. So
I don't know if he's
Yes.
hot. Sure. Fuck him. Literally.
Jamie's pretty hot. I'd
Right?
do him if he was my brother.
Right? I do.
I don't know, Tyrion though.
Okay.
Like
Nope.
I mean, Cersei sleep with Tyrion?
no, God no.
No.
They like
What's
hate
your
each
She
other.
problem?
hates him.
Yeah.
Well, what's the problem?
Like
'Cause
he
you guys were like, "Oh,
killed her
sleeping with
father.
him."
They blame him for killing their mother because he was born.
Yeah,
And
she died in childbirth.
Yeah. So
Which I
they
think is
blame him
quite
for that.
unfair. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. So
then Jon Snow basically
yeah,
like had his mother killed during childbirth too.
yeah, yeah. So
I don't know.
Just
I
'cause
felt like that was extremely predictable and not surprising in any way.
I
that
do
would be
like
a
though
No,
that
I-
you're
no.
different than the majority of people that watch the show. And I think it's probably because you haven't seen that much of it, but also because
Fuck 'em.
you're not afraid to be like, yeah, they're complete fucks, but I'm down with that. So
they definitely are. Like, but
She has a winning
I like
mentality,
him. Like
man.
everyone loves Tyrion.
course.
Jamie didn't like him at first. Love him
Yep.
now.
Yep.
He is awesome.
he's gotten a lot.
Once
better.
he got past that where he fought the dragon and saw it for the first time. After that, I'm like, dude, you cool.
I think after
Like,
he
I
lost
didn't
his
even mind
hand,
him then.
actually, I think
Well,
losing his hand was
true.
like his grounding. Like, oh, I'm not untouchable anymore.
Yep.
And I think that grounded him a lot, and I think that made him more of a likable, relatable character.
I don't know. I just felt like the dragon scene was his finally wake up call, going, "Oh, hey, we're fucked. We can't just
Well, yeah.
do whatever we want. Like, we actually have to get serious
Well,
here."
I found that part difficult is because I really liked Jamie at that part and Bronn. So then when they had to face like Daenerys and the dragons, I was like, who the hell do I root for? Like Bronn's loading up the spear to shoot the dragon. I'm like, I don't know if I want him to miss or hit it, like
Right.
because I love them.
I think so. I'm sure I speak for many when I say my favorite character is Daenerys, just because I think, as far as character development goes, she's come the farthest.
Mm-hmm.
But she's always had like a goal in mind. She's always been very focused on that, and I appreciate that. But I agree in those fight scenes when she's on a dragon up against people that you also like in some way or another. It's like, I feel like unfair if she's riding a dragon and you just see this guy with one hand running around the sword. Like, if they actually were to face off, like, Jamie's fucked. But now that they're all fighting on the same side of the living for now, I think that'll make for a really epic battle.
Like I didn't mind when she set fire to the Tarleys,
No, because
but I felt bad when Sam found out.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
because
that
Sam
that
is
was
like,
heartbreaking.
so he's like the teddy
Yeah.
bear of the show. He's like the sweetest guy
Yeah.
of the show.
If I had to
Yeah.
pick a character, I'd be like, I'd probably pick Sam.
I like him. Like at first when he first came out,
Cersei.
you're like, this guy's a little
Cersei.
bitch.
There's not two of them. There's only one
Cersei.
Cersei.
What's
your
Cersei?
I wish there
I like
was.
both of them.
I wish there was more of her.
I think.
Well, there was, but she got killed by
As
the
much as I'd
Dorns.
love to be a badass character, I feel like if I was to relate myself to a character, it'd probably be Sansa, which is basically she's just the bitch of the Starks.
She is.
But she is one judgy bitch, and I feel like I relate to her on so
dude.
many levels.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
To
loved,
a T.
like her interactions now with Daenerys are gonna be getting good because it's just a bitch fest between
It really
those two.
is. And it's like more, I feel like when you see two guys that are like up against each other, it's just more of like a macho, like who's more macho. But with them, it's going to be a lot more sly and cunning. It's going to be like really backhanded compliments. It's going to be like really, you can see them like analyzing each other and see how this is going to go down. Because at this point, we've only seen, like, basically Sansa be like, well, my brother loves you, so I want to like you, but I also, like, I don't agree with you being our queen. And Daenerys is like, well, fuck you, I'm your queen anyways. So I think that's going to lead to some family conflict.
She's not. Is she? Is she actually?
I mean, in her mind, yes, she is. Because she, up until the end of this last episode, she believed to be the only Targaryen left, and so she should be the rightful heir of the throne.
Oh, that don't mean dick.
It does in their world, I guess.
No.
I mean, the fact that Cersei's, like, sitting on this Iron Throne as of right now, I think... At this point, you can think of anybody could get it if they really wanted it, because Cersei didn't really have a claim to it. She just happened to marry a Baratheon who was king at the time.
Because she knows how to win.
Both kids who became kings are dead.
All of her kids are dead.
All of her kids are dead.
That's what happens when you have incest kids, I guess.
But I mean, it doesn't matter about her daughter. She had no claim to it.
Yeah.
Because she's a woman.
Which I think is funny, because Cersei's a woman.
But Cersei's a woman.
And she's the only woman thus far to have sat on the Iron Throne. Which I do, as much as I hate Cersei and I can't wait to watch her die, which I'm hoping happens, I think that's one thing I can respect in her is that of all the... I mean, Daenerys obviously is a really strong woman as well, but she hasn't gotten to the Iron Throne yet. And then Cersei's been able to hold it for this long after Robert Baratheon died.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, her son had it for a little while, but, like, realistically, even when her sons were on the throne, it was still her controlling it.
Yeah.
Because they were kids. I mean,
well,
they
until
didn't know.
Tommen came. Because then he paired up with the religious fanatics and...
The Tyrell... Well,
basically,
he married the Tyrell girl. God, I can't even think of her name.
Like,
what are those religious...
Marjorie or something?
Yeah, Marjorie.
Or something like that.
Like, I want the religious fanatics to die.
Don't we all?
They
More
did.
than Cersei.
They did.
No?
She blew them up.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, but they're still around.
Shame.
They were all in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Shame.
The
But
shame walk is
and
one of the
that
best
was-
scenes of Game of Thrones.
Oh
let's
yeah,
just say.
I've been waiting a long time to see her naked, so that was fun for me.
Don't you see her
But
naked like
besides-
pretty early on, like boning her brother?
No, you see like top butt, like
Okay,
from the front
that's fair.
view, so it's very difficult to see. But so I was waiting for that moment.
He was looking for it.
This isn't a podcast
Yes.
about Game of Thrones. This is a podcast about the sex scenes only.
But then they started throwing poop on her,
For
and it just like
Bob.
ruined it for me. And I was like,
Not into that.
come on, yeah.
Not
No,
into the poop
no,
fetish.
definitely not.
Oh.
But Cersei, I will say, is one of the most... I'd have to say one of the most interesting characters. Like, she's very... Like, Lena Headey, I don't know what the actress's name is. Whoever
Yeah.
portrays her does a great job at making her... Because she makes you hate her. And then when she does stuff like getting vengeance on the people from Dorne and the Nun, like, I'm like, hell yes.
I mean,
Cersei, you're
realistically though,
awesome.
the nun, I think, or not the nun, but the Tyrell. Are you talking about the Tyrell lady, or are you talking about the like
The
religious
Martells.
people?
Well,
Oh,
the religious
Martells,
people, the nun who did the shame thing to her and like
Oh,
hit
right,
her,
right.
and then the Martell woman who poisoned her daughter
Yep.
and killed her. When she got vengeance on all of them, I was like rooting for her.
I think
that was
whenever we
awesome.
see any character get vengeance, though, like for like if there was a character you liked that was killed, it doesn't even matter who is getting the vengeance. It's always satisfying. Like you might hate Cersei, but if you were really sad that I don't know that her daughter died, which we really didn't get to know her, Marcella too much. But if you
No.
were really sad about that, it's satisfying just to see that she's avenged in the end.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yep.
Also, when Joffrey died.
Oh, everyone wanted that to happen.
Yes. I
He
so
was by
happy.
far the worst. I mean, okay, no, that's a lie. Ramsay is the
Ramsay,
worst,
yes.
but Joffrey's a very close second. And up to
Yeah.
that point, because we hadn't seen Ramsay yet, like he was the devil of the show. Like there was,
Yes.
like there's parts of Cersei that you're like, I like this part of her, but like then she's a bitch, so like I'm torn. You're never torn about Joffrey. Like there might have been a couple scenes where you kind of feel bad for him, in a sense, like of just the way he was raised and things like that. But like for the most part, you just fucking hate him, and
Yeah.
you can't wait
See,
to watch
I
him
guess,
suffer.
I guess I don't really know. I don't know because I didn't fucking watch it. But I mean, how old is he when he took the throne?
He was
Like 13?
Yeah, teenager.
Yeah.
I
Young
mean,
teenager.
if you put a 13-year-old in any position of high power, they're gonna fucking dick around and not.
No, but he was just a prick and a...
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
even-
because it all
even
went to
before,
his
like,
head. At
right
the age of
before.
13, you get.
But even
with
before he took
such
the throne,
ties.
he was a
Before,
dick.
Yeah, even
Power?
Because
before
he was betrothed to Sansa, and he just treated her like such a bitch. And it was before he was even king. Like his dad was still king, and he was still such a bitch for no
Yeah.
reason.
Like you could tell he was messed up because like wasn't there a scene or something where you just like killed like a bunch of innocent animals or something like
He
just some
killed a
really fucked
direwolf.
up shit.
That's
Yep.
like one of the first scenes you see with him being an
No,
asshole is him killing one of the wolves, which is.
Oh no,
like,
he killed the prostitutes.
He did that with a crossbow.
Yeah.
Too.
Yep.
I go
Also,
that-
what he
it's a bunch
did
of fucked up
was
scenes.
when him and Sansa they were walking in the woods. They came across Arya and that butcher's son like sparring, and he came up and was like bullying him and said, "Let's fight." And he pulled out his sword and like cut the kid on the face and stuff like that. Then Arya stood up and knocked him down, and I think her wolf came up and bit him too.
Yeah.
And then Arya took his sword and was pointing at him, and he just became this little bitch. Like, please, please, don't. And then she chucked his sword in the water and ran, and then he ran back to mommy and got some people killed. Had that butcher boy killed for him bullying him.
Yeah.
I was like, come on.
Yeah.
He's a little asshole from the get-go.
And I think the one of the worst things he did to make people hate him was after Ned Stark was killed, he like brought Sansa to his body like hanging there and basically like, well, there's your dad now. Like,
his head on a spike.
or yeah, his head on a spike,
And
not his
made
body.
her look at it.
Yeah, I just made her stare at her dad's head on a spike and like, hey fiance, I have something cool for you to see. Like that's not really the best way to lay a foundation for a strong marriage. So I mean, with that, and so many people love Ned Stark, and to this day, like any character that talks about him just talks about how he's the most honorable man and yada yada. Like he's just.
And it's so funny because out of the, what has there been now? I think 69 episodes so far. But he, spoiler if you haven't watched, we already disclaimed this, but he died in like episode 9.
Yeah, like first season.
And he's like such a beloved character
Yeah.
throughout it, and he died that early.
My prediction: he's coming back
As
He's-
dead.
as the
I
dead.
think you're right.
Like, well,
I think
because
you're right on that.
his body, you know, you see the skeletons.
It's gonna be a headless body.
Yeah, it'll be a headless
Yeah.
body,
But
but
then
it'll
how will
be.
we know it's him if it's just a headless body?
Well, it
if it's
depends
just
on
a
how
skeleton body.
deteriorated his body is in that
I'm
crypt.
sure they'll give some.
Either that,
some
or
cheap
I don't know.
feature.
I don't know how the
They'll
whole
show
White
the
Walker
dire
powers
wolf
work.
crest on him or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how the whole White Walkers work, but maybe if his head is buried with his body, maybe
Or maybe
they'll
he'll
just
be
be like
carrying
headless
his head.
horseman,
Yeah.
just carrying it.
It's a little headless Nick. Just
Yeah.
Yep.
Nearly headless Nick.
Nearless.
And
Nearly
you know who
headless.
he's gonna like
Well,
come
he's
across first is Arya.
Yeah.
Because Arya was there when he was killed,
Yeah.
and she tried to save him.
Why
but
didn't
got
you
held
save me?
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Can
I
they
don't know.
talk?
I just feel like
The
Huh?
dead
I-
talk.
no.
Not that we've seen.
no.
Okay.
I think the White Walkers probably could, like the Night King. I think he
Yeah.
probably could,
Oh yeah.
but he hasn't up until
No.
now.
Yeah. He'll say something.
Yeah, because the one they captured just made noises.
What
That was
that?
really attractive.
But you can tell the difference
One
because
more
they have the
No
Yeah.
more times.
No.
because they have the ones on the horses who are the important ones who can all probably talk, but then they have all the lackeys or people
Yeah.
they've killed and turned.
I can just see because you know they all set up that last episode. We've got to go down to the crypt with all the other dead bodies. I
Yep.
can just see them all raising from the grave. If the Nightwalker has the ability to do that,
Jon
if he has to
Snow
actually,
will
like-
meet his mother.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that would be an interesting one.
but I don't know. But the only thing I feel like it won't happen is because he had to touch the dragon to turn them. So if he has to touch the bodies, then that defeats the whole.
Also,
Like, oh hey everybody, let me just hey, I'm just gonna touch these crypts here.
What are they going to do about it?
right.
I guess
Nothing.
Well,
They're not armed.
They got
Right.
dragon glass. The one girl who's down there to defend it.
She's not going down there.
No.
She already said
So-
she's not.
Speaking of the Night King bringing back the dragon, does that mean he could also like get a hold of the dead dire wolves and have like some zombie wolves? Because that'd be pretty.
Yeah.
badass.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, he already has a
We
dragon,
saw
so
the-
why would he need it?
We
But-
saw the zombie bear.
Oh shit.
That's right.
They're gonna take Snow's direwolf.
Yeah, they are.
Oh fuck.
Oh.
They already
So
have-
they'll have Daenerys'
Yeah.
dragon and Jon's wolf.
I think, as
Damn
far
it.
as predictions go, I think that either Dany will have to kill the bad dragon, or the bad dragon's gonna kill Dany. I think it's gonna be those. Like, I think she's gonna be the one to essentially put it down if
No,
it gets put
yeah.
down, because it was like her child essentially.
It'll be definitely her killing it. The dragon's
Yeah.
not gonna take her out. Like she'll kill the dragon because that's not how she's gonna go down.
I hope not, but I could see it
No.
being like,
We don't know what R.R. Martin's gonna do.
yeah.
Sly devil.
He likes to kill a lot of people off.
See, you thought that he didn't
Yeah,
like to
yeah,
kill that many
true.
people off. Then once you see that, get to the point of the Red Wedding, like, from there on out of the rest of the series, like, it's just, like, you don't know. Like, everyone can die in one episode. We have no idea what's coming our way now.
Yeah.
And I think with this big battle with all of our characters on the same side, or all the living characters on the same side, except for Cersei being a little bitch back in King's Landing, I think we're going to lose...
She's smart, man. She's waiting. She's biding time.
Sure. I think we're going to lose a lot of our favorite characters during that battle. And I think basically...
Yeah.
I mean, the remaining people are going to go fight Cersei. That's pretty much a given at this point that that's going to have to happen. It's just which characters
For
are going to be
some
left.
reason, she does change her mind and joins the fight.
No, she's not going to do
But
that.
it's not going to happen, no.
She already lost. Like, Jaime is the one person that could get through to her. And if she's not going to listen to him, she's not going to listen to anybody.
Yeah.
And she's, like, pregnant with another fucking incest baby. So, like, I don't see her being like, oh, yeah, I should probably go fight these dead things.
Yeah.
Because as much as it's weird that, like, her brother is her kid's father, she's always been, like, her kids are her number one priority. She's always
Horrible
cared so deeply
prediction.
for them.
Nightwalker wins, and then the last actual real battle is between Cersei and the Nightwalker.
I'm sorry, if the Nightwalker or the Night King takes out all of everybody else, and Cersei's the one to fucking defeat the Night King, I'm gonna be real fucking upset.
It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
but like I feel like that wouldn't be the case because story relevancy wise, that would not be entertaining.
Yeah, it
no one
wouldn't.
would want to watch.
Well,
it.
you know
Also,
what's
according to
gonna
the
happen.
book, what the book Fire and Ice, I think is what the...
Which one? There's multiple books of the series.
Yeah, but that whole thing is supposed to, from what I heard, is supposed to represent Jon and Daenerys.
Well, that makes sense.
Fire and Ice. So,
Because they're both Targaryens, but she is obviously the mother of dragons, so she's represented by fire, and he's from the north, he was on the wall, like, he's seen the Night King.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's obviously ice, so I think that's...
So, like, it makes sense for them to live, because it's supposed to be, like, from what I understand, it's supposed to be a story of how they become the best ruler of the place.
See, so my prediction, or not my prediction, but what I wish would happen, which I don't think will, is why can't they, okay, I know it's like aunt and nephew, so it's a little fucked up, but at this point we've seen twins fucking, so like, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
They should just get married and rule together. Like, that would be the ideal. I don't think it'll happen. I think it'll be one of the two of them is going to get killed and the other one's going to get the throne. I don't think Cersei's going to stay on the throne. I don't think Gendry's going to get the throne.
I already
think
know
it's
what's
going
gonna
to be...
happen. Cersei's gonna kill both Daenerys and Jon.
Oh, shit.
And right when she was like, "Throne's all mine," Euron Greyjoy is gonna slit her throat, and he's gonna take it.
I mean, I would really like to see Euron Greyjoy take out Cersei, but I think it'll be Jaime. That prediction I'm holding to.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love to see Tyrion do it, I think it'll be Jaime.
Well, didn't she send someone to kill him?
Yeah, she did.
Like, yeah, so...
Because he crossed her. She's done with him now.
Yeah, so
She
he's
sent-
definitely gonna kill her.
She sent, Jamie's friend. No.
Bronn.
Yeah.
Yeah, to kill
Bronn.
him. She bribed him.
Which I don't think he's obviously going to go through with it because
No.
they're bros.
Yeah.
No. But he's as right now, he's contemplating it.
But I think that's a good way of getting Bronn to Winterfell to be part of the big battle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll probably go there with maybe leaning more towards the side of killing Jamie, but then once he sees the dad and everything, he's be like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all fucked anyways.
I think that's anyone that gets to the point of seeing, like, the dead are pretty much at the point where we're all fucked. Most of us aren't going to live anyway, so they don't, like, as much as they care about the Iron Throne, I mean, Dany has always been fixated on it, and that's her main goal, but even once she saw it, she was like, oh, like, we are fucked. Like, there's no point in battling for the throne if there's nothing left to rule after you get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Cersei's the only one that I think Cersei, the one thing she's smart about is that she thinks that the fact that they have dragons, they're going to beat the Night King, and Cersei just doesn't have to deal with it. She's like, oh, they have dragons. Like, it's fine. They're going to win, and then they can come, and then I'll just fight what's left, because they're going to be not
Hopefully
I
they
mean,
would have
she
taken
really
each other
wanted
out.
those elephants.
That's
She did.
true, yeah.
She did. Yes.
Because an elephant's going to be a total match for a fucking dragon.
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh,
what you do
the
with
elephant.
That was another thing I
Stomp
saw
people.
online too. Was someone said, like, for all the people who are downloading and watching Game of Thrones illegally, if you would have just watched it like the way you're supposed to, we could have afforded those elephants. Like, there you go.
True that.
Oh,
Yeah.
burn. Oh, yeah, 'cause what, last season, like, it all came out illegally? It got leaked or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
People will always find a way to pirate
yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It's just the way it is.
But
Yeah.
no, but, like, that was, like, a big thing, like, last season, wasn't it?
Because it was before it came out.
Yeah.
So it was leaked, like, prior to the show being aired. At this point, there's a lot of people that have watched the show that have never paid for HBO and never intend on paying for HBO. And I think there's a lot of people, too. I think HBO is going to actually take a really big hit once the show's over, because I think there's people that pay for it only for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And then once it's done, they're going to cancel their subscriptions.
Yep.
Because
Pretty
what?
much.
Like, what? I mean, I guess I don't watch a whole lot of HBO shows, so I can't diss them because I don't know them, but that's all I ever hear of people watching on HBO. So I think them as a company
Is HBO part of Starz? Or no?
I mean, they're separate. They're separate,
they're
but
separate.
they could be owned by some parent company that I don't know about. I have no idea.
Oh.
One thing I do appreciate about the like production value of Game of Thrones is that and granted, I think interviews people might not always be the most honest, but when I was watching interviews from each of the like cast members about the end of Game of Thrones and like their feelings of the fact that it's ending, like every single person said that there's like been no bad apple of the bunch. Like everybody's been a pleasure to work with, and you can tell that like even though a lot of our favorite characters haven't had screen time together until this last season, you can tell that like them together is like kind of a big family, and I think that's why so many people like really I don't know, get devoted to the characters because it like kind of comes through the screen.
Well, even Joffrey, like his character is played so horribly, but he's actually nice in person.
Well,
Yeah.
of course, yeah. No.
And he received a lot of death threats.
Yeah, a lot of
because
death
of his
threats.
character.
But I actually really for
like,
him
for
as
them-
an actor, like being so young and being able to portray such a monster, like that is quite a feat. Like he is a very good
Yeah.
actor. He's very
Yeah.
talented.
Definitely.
As much as I hate the character, I don't know why people would hate the actor.
Well,
like,
you have to
I don't
respect
get
him
that.
for how much you hate him.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you have
that's
to
a
respect that. That's
like that's such a
skill.
sad thing too about this is with how big Game of Thrones is, like all these actors are like never gonna do anything as big as this anymore.
And that's
It
what they
only
all
goes
said
down
too.
from
They're
here.
like, yeah, they're like, I'm never gonna get this again. Like this is a once in a like lifetime show to be a part
Yeah.
of.
It's
and
basically like Harry Potter
Yeah.
too.
right.
But I mean, Sansa kind of lucked out and she married Joe Jonas, so she's got that going for her.
I suppose.
She got
But I think I think a lot of actors, once they're a part of something like that is so big, like, if you ever see Daniel Radcliffe in anything else, you're only going to see him as Harry Potter. Like, every time I've
Yeah.
seen him in another movie, I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is Harry Potter doing here?
Yeah.
Like, where's your scar, bro?
Yeah.
Well, even Hermione, whatever.
Emma Watson. Well, she
Emma
did play
Watson.
Belle in Beauty and the Beast, which I think
Yeah.
was... A lot of people were like, whoa, this is weird. But at the same time, she did do a really phenomenal job.
Well, that's the thing. It takes a while before you can finally get past it.
Yeah, it
Luckily
does.
enough, she got old enough where she doesn't really look as much.
Yeah, I think it's different for the kids because they're so young when they do these big things, and then they still have such a long career that like they're going to be different people by the end of it.
Yeah.
But for like the adults that are in this, like, sorry,
No.
bro.
But like definitely
Yeah.
that first movie that they're in after this or whatever show, you only see him as that character. Like it takes like 2 or 3 more movies before you
That's
finally
why
can get
they-
past it.
Well, that's how they're gonna advertise it too. Like
Yeah.
starring actor that played Jon Snow. And it's
Kit
like,
Harington,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yep.
Yep.
But I mean, the one thing is the actor who played Ned Stark is a very well-known actor who's been in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually the actor who holds the record for being killed off the most in like almost everything he's in. Because he was, I
What
think
a
he was,
record.
he was beheaded in Lord of the Rings too. He was in that movie.
Oh.
One thing I also really enjoy about Game of Thrones, which is different from a lot of different series, is they actually film all over the world. Like they have all the like they've filmed in Iceland, they've filmed in Scotland, like they filmed in so many places that it's not like a lot of places. Like for example, Lord of the Rings was all filmed in New Zealand, and of course New Zealand has beautiful scenery, and there's a lot of different places in New Zealand you can film to get different scenery, but it's all in one place. I really appreciate that they actually have picked up and like brought their set and their crew to like different countries to get the scenery they want.
Yep.
Granted, they have the budget for it, which is a
Yeah.
huge part of it, but still, like I think that makes it so
To
much
fly an
more
entire-
visually appealing.
Cast and crew is a lot.
Yeah.
And to set up a set somewhere just for like a couple episode arc, and then to
Yeah.
tear down and be like, all right, well now we're off to wherever they're off to next. I think that's pretty impressive, and that makes it more visually appealing as a TV show because like the scenery in that show is just ridiculously gorgeous
Yeah.
most of the time.
Each house has
Yeah.
basically its own scenery that fit that place.
Yeah,
Instead of using green screen or
I mean they do have a
movie
lot of
magic,
they do have a lot of movie magic because of course they have dragons and
the ice wall, and
Yeah, and they have Night Walkers,
There's an
or
actual
White
real
Walkers and
ice
things
wall.
like that.
Yeah.
So of course there is a lot of it, but I think at least they have real scenery, which I think with like the dragon being on real scenery background versus the dragon being on a green screen, I think makes a big difference
Mm-hmm.
true.
in the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd like to know what everyone's opinion on who is going to be the final one to sit on the Iron Throne. I mean, I know Slay, your vote is for Cersei, but is that no?
It is Bran. It is Bran.
So you want a wheelchair Iron Throne?
I'm
Yes.
sticking to this,
A
and he is
mobile
going.
Iron
Everyone's
Throne.
gonna be dead, just laying dead on the ground.
And
just-
Braun's just gonna,
and he's
or
just gonna
Bran's
roll
still
up
gonna just be
and then
staring.
just start taking out those swords from that fucking chair and slamming it into his wheelchair and making his own fucking Iron Throne.
No, I want him to
Around.
I want everyone to be laying there dead, and then Bran just gets up from his wheelchair and be like, "Fuck you all,
Yeah.
I fooled you." And walk over to the
I
Iron
could
Throne.
walk this entire time.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Idiots.
That's
Oh,
an interesting
idiots.
take on it. I know, me personally, I think it's gonna be Jon Snow, just because I feel like from the beginning they've made him such an important character that and the fact that it's revealed that now he actually has a claim to it. I think that, as much as I don't want it to happen, I think that Daenerys is gonna end up getting killed in battle in some fashion, and I think that he's gonna end up on the Iron Throne. And I think it has to be at least one of those two, but I lean towards Jon Snow being the one in the end.
I also lean towards Jon, but I do like the idea of Arya.
Me too.
Just
Me
I
too.
like that idea.
Yes. Me
wearing
too.
somebody else's face.
Yep. Like, it's Jon Snow there, and then all of a
It
sudden,
wouldn't be Jon Snow. There's no way she would kill him to take his face.
Yeah.
he already died.
True.
Well, no, she has to kill him. That's like part of the thing.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
a part of it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I could see her doing that with
So maybe
Daenerys,
Daenerys,
but I
or
don't.
I don't know, whoever takes over the throne, it'd actually just be her. Just the last, 10 seconds of the clip is just peel it off the face, and that's all. Cut to black.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be Tyrion
I would love that.
out. It's either gonna be Jon Snow, Tyrion, or White Walker Joffrey.
Oh god.
Oh, God.
I don't
I
know.
really hope they do bring back a lot of the dead characters as dead army, because I think that would be a
That
really
would be
nice
really
piece of
cool.
closure for the end of the series to have all these people back.
It'd be super cool. Even if it'd be really cool too, is if they just brought those actors, because they were close, they weren't there. It'd be cool even if they gave them a minor role as a merchant or part of the dead army or something.
That's not a common thing anymore, though, to reuse actors that are big like that in different parts.
No,
you're
it isn't.
You're in the mindset of 90s TV, which I appreciate, but they don't do that in most shows.
But it would be cool, just because it is the finale of the whole season, if they gave them a small part just so they can make an appearance.
I think it
And
would.
see if fans would see them oh hey, wasn't that?
If
Ned
somebody
Stark?
saw Joffrey as
Yeah.
a merchant, we would definitely be like, wait, what the fuck? Why is Joffrey a merchant?
But
Yeah.
maybe he's a kid in the background. You don't really, he doesn't look like Joffrey.
I think if
but
they're gonna-
it is the actor there.
I think if they're going to go to the trouble of bringing back these actors, they would put them in the army of the
Yeah.
dead.
And that's why. I hope.
These
I'd
people
hope
are
that too, but-
expensive. You're just gonna let them have some minor ass
Yeah.
role that you can't even recognize them.
I
There's
I
no
wanna-
way to bring him back.
I want to be a fly in the wall in the room of when the cast gets to see the final episode aired, because they all watch it together.
Yep.
Yeah.
At some sort of red carpet viewing party thing. I would love to see their reactions, because they're all going to be really emotional that it's ending, but there's going to be so many people in that crowd that probably died off in season 1, Ned Stark's actor. I'm sure he'll be there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just to see all those people in one room again and see how much of an impact it's had on all of them, even the people that died. Fucking Hodor. He had one line in the show. All he said was Hodor.
Well, he did
And-
say hold the door.
Well, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
But no, but he did that as a kid.
He did.
Adult
Well, it
Hodor
looked back, yeah.
actor.
Hodor, yeah.
Never
yeah.
had a different line. He had one
Yes.
line, but still, everyone to this day is probably that's one of the characters that was the hardest to lose. And he had one of the most tragic backstories.
Yeah.
It was probably because of that arc that everyone felt so bad when he died too.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I mean, he's
that's
just a
the point of the
lovable
arc.
guy. Yeah, he was. Before Bran had a wheelchair, he had Hodor.
Yeah.
Carry him
He was the
around.
wheelchair.
And then what did he
Hodor
have
was the
after
wheel-
that? He had that girl trying to pull him on that sled.
Oh yeah. What was her name even? I don't even.
No one remembers.
Is she coming back? Is she gonna be?
She was a wildling, wasn't she?
No.
Or was she just
No, she
I
wasn't.
thought she was. I thought she was a captured wildling or something.
No, you're thinking of the girl that Jon Snow first boned.
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
Egret.
maybe I was
Yeah.
thinking that.
Egret.
Yeah. She was
I don't know. I
hot.
could have sworn she was or maybe she just lived beyond the wall at some point in her life. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something like.
Yeah.
She looked like a wild.
She was a northerner, but I don't
she
think
was
she was a
definitely a
wild
northerner.
Okay.
I think she grew up on one of the the palaces on the wall or castles on the wall.
Okay.
I don't think that it was Castle Black. I think it was one of the other ones.
Is that freaking spider eggs or is that mold?
So
Can you, stop
sidebar,
looking at that?
Slay just pulled a plant out of a pot and is now looking for spider eggs. So if you're bored of this podcast, like Slay clearly is, looking for spider eggs is a good alternative.
What do you want me to add? I didn't watch the damn show.
I told you to
Time
watch
to
a
burn the
YouTube
house.
video, basically breaking down seasons 1 through 7.
I don't.
But you
got
didn't
time.
commit.
You don't have time? Do you know how much anime you watch?
Do you know
have plenty
the
of time.
podcast you listen to at work? You could have just listened to that at work.
I guarantee you there's Game
Yeah.
of Thrones podcasts out there that are devoted strictly to
Oh,
Game of
I'm
Thrones.
sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Sidebar, I feel like I need...
I guess I will correct my statement. I just don't care.
They're not
Okay.
cartoons, so you can't enjoy it.
Yeah. I was talking to
I'm not wrong.
talking about this to a girl at work yesterday, and she was like, "Yeah, I never really got into Game of Thrones. Too much rape for me." I was like, "Not actually a whole lot. I mean, it's a tasteful amount. It's like what you need for the story."
I think,
That's the same thing everybody at my work do. They're like, it's pretty violent. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that's right. I do work at a very Christian place.
but I don't think it's even that. I think
Lame.
Lame.
like today's day and age, like rape is a really sensitive subject, and I mean I appreciate that to an extent. But if you're fine watching a show with tons of murder, but then you get to a rape and you're like, whoa, you cross a line, like. If I had to choose, and I mean, it's a terrible option, but if I had to choose between raped and murdered, like, I'm going to choose rape because at least you're still living. Like, I think murder is also a very heinous crime, yet, like, once it gets to a rape scene, that's when
the
people
difference between
give
the
up.
victim. Like, the victim can't speak out when you're murdered. The victim can speak out when you're raped. So
That's
it's
fair.
seen as more heinous because you have to live with it.
Then you get to see, like, awesome revenge scenes, like when Sansa gets Ramsay eaten by his own dogs. Like, she wouldn't have done that if she was dead. Just saying. Unless she comes back as a White Walker. Why do I keep saying Nightwalker?
I don't know. I keep screwing it up.
Night
so.
King.
Night King, that's, I'm
Yeah.
just getting them mixed up.
So he will be the one on the throne because he already has the king in his name. There you go.
There you go.
But
Perfect.
I think that's actually scared a lot of people away from the show from what I've heard is people are like, oh, well, I tried to watch it, but then I saw that, like, the first rape scene and I was just out. And I mean, I get it. Like, it is a really, it's a hard thing to watch, I guess, if you're taking it as a literal thing. But you have to realize these people are actors. It's not really happening. Like...
Not to mention, this is also portraying, like, basically a medieval era. That happened a lot.
Like, that was
Oh,
the
yeah,
reality
yeah.
of it. Like,
That
if
was
you
the
watch
reality
any
of back
old-timey
and
show...
I mean, if you're like speaking on that, because was it Daenerys who made Yara say that they'll like the Greyjoys will no longer like raid, murder, rape people, stuff like that, and Yara was like, well, like that's our lifestyle, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very common thing back there. But I thought this was funny too because I watched an interview and oh my god, I know her name all the time. Why am I blanking on it? Daenerys. Amelia.
Yeah.
Any other day I know her name for some reason, and right now
It'll
it's
come to us.
escaping me. But so she was doing an interview and they were talking about the rape scene with Drago, and she said that Jason Momoa, I know his name and not hers for some reason, he was like very, very nice about it, that usually they use
Emilia
this...
Clarke, sorry.
Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. But during that scene, right before, they usually have like this thing called like a cocksock or whatever, that kind of like a tan thing that pulls it like back and gets it out of the way for the scene. And she said, just to lighten the mood, he went out with this big fuzzy pink sock. And she was trying not to laugh the entire time.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty funny.
I do think it's fascinating for the young actors and actresses of this show, like both Sansa and Dany were like, this is their first thing they've really been in, and they have had to portray these really brutal scenes. I think that speaks a lot to their ability to kind of go into character, because that if you've never experienced something like that, like how, especially if you're not, if you haven't acted that much, I feel like that'd be really hard to be able to like portray that without coming off like you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's
all these people who are in here like portray their characters wonderfully and are just amazing actors, young and old.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think for like what we were talking about with like the fact that it's old times, so rape is kind of just common, things like that. I think if you watch any show at any old time, like if you've seen Spartacus, there's a lot of rape in that. Like there any shows like that, there's always a bunch of.
Well, it's because males, like, their word was basically law back then.
Right,
Yeah.
and women were
women,
property.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why, especially in Game of Thrones, like there's so many of these women that are such powerful people, and like even most of them have that history of being assaulted in some form or another, but like they were able to, that's part of their journey to get to where they are. And I think that's why it's like, as much as it's saying like, oh, women were property and like you're degrading women by watching the show, like if you watch what happens with these characters afterward, I think it builds really heavily on it, and that makes them more just that much more amazing to say, like, oh, the fact that Cersei's even on the Iron Throne at all, like, that's, as a woman, is incredible, much more, like, if you hear more about the backstory. So I think that for the people that don't watch it purely based on that, I think that's not really a fair judgment, just because, like, the show does have rape, but it also has really powerful women leads in this show that are more powerful than most of the male characters.
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
So I think that if that's you, I mean, I don't think that's you if you're listening to this podcast at this point, but if that's you and you refuse to watch it, I feel like you should give it a fair shake and go for it. Unless you're like Slay and just isn't interested. But again,
I mean, I'm okay with rape. I just don't want to watch the show.
Unpopular opinion of the day.
Yeah,
the rape is fine, just the story itself.
Yeah, rape is fine. That's not what bugs me about it.
Yeah. Her opinion on rape does not define the group as a whole. Let's just say that.
Especially to the male podcasters sitting here. They don't want to be like, yeah, rape is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be raped. Like, please don't insinuate that.
Well, I don't think anyone was thinking that.
She just wants to rape. That's what she wants.
But it's, I like kind of find it interesting with shows like shows like Game of Thrones. They get such this like image of like, oh, it's so brutal. But then you think of shows like Law and Order SVU, which is literally about rape, and that's the premise of the show. But because they don't show as much of it, it doesn't get as much of that heat, which I think is not really fair. Because Game of Thrones is not about rape whatsoever. It happens because it happened in those times, but it has this way different storyline. Whereas like, you know, I don't think that many people are offended by SVU. I think people are like, oh, well... People are like, oh, well, you know, they're cops and they're fighting against rapists, so it's okay. So I think that's kind of an interesting way of looking
also,
at it.
I guess I've never actually seen a rape scene in Game of Thrones. How sexual is it? Like, does it glamorize it?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it looks pretty horrible from the point of view of the the female character. I feel like almost always, with the exception of the like Daenerys with Khal Drogo in the beginning, I think the characters that are generally the rapists are not characters you like. I mean, you end up liking Drogo, but you know,
later.
And it wasn't really like brutalized either. Like it wasn't like what some people think of rape being just like super harsh. I mean, it wasn't. It didn't come off as it just being completely brutal.
And I think because of the times, like, women expected it, so they didn't always fight against it. That you could just tell that they weren't a happy party, they weren't a consenting party, but they also weren't like fighting them off and like being held down against their will. It was more like they were against it, but they did it anyways because that's just the way it was. Like that's their reality.
Yep.
So I think that it wasn't. But I mean, realistically, of all the scenes in Game of Thrones, there's not that many rape scenes where I don't see it being a huge problem. I think there's so much more that's fucked up in that show.
Yeah.
Aside from that, like, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't stand out.
Yeah. And, like, the Sansa Ramsay one, like, it was basically insinuated, as far as I can remember. I don't know. They didn't really show anything.
No.
I think they showed them, like, going into the bed or something, or...
Basically had her bend over and, like, pull her pants down, basically, and
it
shied away from it. It didn't show anything. It just insinuated...
I think you heard a few, like, grunts or noises or something, and then that was about it.
Yep.
Yes. But, I mean, it was marital rape, which actually isn't a real thing.
Yes, it is.
I'm just kidding. That's not my opinion. That was a joke.
As your wife,
that was a joke.
You stay the fuck away from me.
I think, but a lot of times, it gives you a different view of, like, character, too. Like, for example, if you've watched Spartacus and you see characters that you have grown to hate for the most part, like Lucretia, people hate her. But then once she's raped by Asher, you're like, whoa, I feel so bad for you. Even though you've been, like, literally a wicked bitch this entire time. But now I'm like, oh, shit. Like, now I feel bad for you.
Is that Xena's name or something?
It is, but she happens to be a rape victim in that one. If she was Xena, it would not have happened.
I thought you said she raped a lot.
She did not.
Okay.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah, she did.
She did.
She did rape a lot.
But in a different... I mean, she wasn't forcing gladiators. Like, she wasn't holding them down. It was just more so, like, it was... They were her slaves, so they couldn't say no. So, yes, it was a different form.
If you had Xena coming at you, would you, like, say no?
No.
I'd let her do it.
Quid pro quo.
Yeah. Well, that's this for that, but essentially...
Well, it's held by somebody of a higher power. Like,
yeah, so it was more so they couldn't say no. So it was like, it was rapey in that way, but, like, she Whereas once she was actually raped, like, it was like she was shoved against a wall and, like, held down, like, it was a lot more brutal. And then you feel bad for her, even though, like, up until that point, you really don't like her as a character. Like, you do, in a sense, you feel for her in some instances, but it gives you a different view. And I think that happened a lot in Game of Thrones, too. Like, Sansa became way cooler after she got Ramsay eaten by his own dogs. Like, that, like, all of a sudden, you're, like, way more Team
first,
Sansa
like,
than you were
2
before.
seasons or so, you're just like, she's a bitch. I hate her.
Yeah.
Like, she did nothing.
Yeah,
She
she was
deserves to be
stupid.
raped.
She wanted to go off
Pretty
and marry
much.
Joffrey when
Yeah,
everyone...
who wants to marry
And then she was
Joffrey?
surprised of what he was. I was like, I saw it the first time I saw him.
There's so
Like, I
many
looked
red
at his
flags,
face.
girl.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Like,
king.
you
I'm
just
gonna be a
wanted
queen.
you just wanted power and status. That's all you wanted, and then your life just became
who doesn't?
horrible. Yeah. Well, she went about it the wrong way,
She
and
did.
she paid for it.
She
Yeah.
sure did. I think, which is, like, of all the husbands / potential husbands that she had, Tyrion was by far the best, and that's the only one she didn't have sex with.
Yeah.
So,
She just didn't, like, oh, he's a midget, so she didn't want anything to do with him. But then she had all these sadistic husbands and possible husbands. Like,
Well, Tyrion was
Robin,
the nice
that
one. He
his
didn't
name?
want to do anything with her unless she wanted to.
Yeah. That
So-
was his name. I couldn't think of that when you were asking, like,
What a
can
cuck.
you remember any Aarons? John Aaron was a huge character.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's right.
he was dead the entire time, but
he's mentioned a lot.
he was mentioned a lot in it.
Where is Littlefinger from? Like, what? How? Is he from a house? Like, because he's, like, literally, you see him everywhere. So I
He's
forget,
like
like, his origin story, if we even got that.
I don't even
I
remember.
have no idea.
He was just
I don't even remember
everywhere.
his name, honestly.
I
I
don't
know
know
they
if he
said it,
was
but I don't
like,
remember him as...
Baelish.
Yeah, Lord Baelish, because I don't even
Yeah.
remember him as Littlefinger.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
And
because he, I think, because he was part of, like, when you were in, like, the Aaron's kingdom, or whatever you want to call it, like, he was there, but he wasn't an Aaron.
well, I think that was a thing too. I don't know if that brings back like where he's from, because they mentioned that of how him and I can never remember what her name is. Like the woman he pushed down out the moon door.
Yeah,
Oh,
Catelyn's
Catelyn's-
sister.
Yeah, Catelyn's sister. Like they all knew each other when they were much
Kinda like me.
younger, and she loved him, but he loved Catelyn.
Yeah.
And so they all kind of grew up together. So his origin has to be somewhere around, like, the mountains or somewhere in the
Liza.
north. Liza, yeah.
She was fucking weird.
She was.
Like, I did not feel sad when she was gone.
No, she was one of those crazy bitches who couldn't get she got what she wanted, but not really,
Yeah.
because he ended up just killing her after he married her.
Yeah. So I think, looking forward to the end of the series, aside from who's going to get the Iron Throne, my other opinion is I think that the battle against the dead is going to be way more epic than the battle for the Iron Throne in the end. So I think that
Definitely.
it's a little sad that they're going to have to be in that order. It's going to have to be Battle of the Dead, then Iron Throne. I wish it would, like, lead up
Unless
to
it
that last.
somehow combines the two.
I don't-
But I doubt it.
I don't think, unless Cersei for whatever reason leaves King's Landing.
Yeah,
but at
that's
this
the
point
thing.
it's been set up that she's not going to do that.
No.
So I think that in the next, because they were preparing for, in the end of episode 2, you see the army approaching, so you know the battle's coming up in the next episode or two.
I was gonna say they just go and Jon goes up to the Nightwalker, shakes her hand, and they both storm King's Landing.
Well, he would turn if he shakes his hand. So,
Exactly.
all right,
They-
okay.
I mean, he
Formed a
was
truce.
dead at one
Go for
point.
it. Yeah,
Oh,
yes, he
hey.
was.
They form a
so
truce,
that
and they
could
all
happen.
just storm, holding hands, skipping down.
There you go.
Maybe the
Cersei
night.
thought she was
And
just going to
Cersei's
take out
is
the
waiting
rest,
for
but
them
we're
all.
Yep.
yeah. There's not going to be a battle of the dead. They're
Nope.
just going to be like, let's all turn and kill Cersei.
Yep.
Just rule together. I could see that.
Maybe the Red Witch will be coming back, and maybe she'll, like, bone the Night King, and, like, she'll obviously become a demon, but then, like, her demon babies will be White Walker demon babies.
OP.
Whoa, twist.
Man, she has a magic snatch.
Yeah, but not in a good way.
That's right.
Speaking of rapey, like, she's pretty rapey, and a female rapist is not that
Yeah.
common, but she is, like, a fiend, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She wants a dick.
Yeah, she does.
She's hot though. She is.
But I don't think that makes it okay. I think she can still be rapey.
Like it would make if she raped me a lot less traumatic. If she was like
Quit
looking how she is.
normalizing rape, Bob.
Unless she took off that like necklace or whatever thing and she turned to her old age again.
Yeah.
Oh,
Then
forgot
I
about
don't
that.
want it. Ugh.
Even though you know she looks like that, you're okay with it
Yes.
as long as she appears young to you.
Appears has the
Then it
redhead.
wouldn't be.
Yeah.
If you want it, then it's not fucking rape, you dipshit.
Exactly, but she thinks that's rape. But I'm like, no, stay away.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
All right, I think
We're going to
that
get hate
note-
mail after this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be like, these people
Yeah.
like rape. We're done with this podcast.
We don't like rape. We just joke sometimes. We've never been raped, so we can do it.
We kid.
We
of course.
kid.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, we kid.
I think it's just one of those things that people talk about being like one of the biggest negatives of the show. So I think it was something that we all disagree with.
All right.
But I think,
As fun as this was,
yeah, I think we're getting to the end
Yeah.
here unless anyone has last minute
I had
No.
predictions
I got
they want
bits,
to toss in
so-
there.
No.
No, mine was then walking, skipping down to King's Landing. That was it.
Yep.
All right, well, I guess only time will tell. We got 4 episodes left of the series, so
Boo.
if you're listening to this at a later date once these have all aired, then I guess you'll know what happened. But
You can laugh and be like, ha ha ha, they were all wrong.
They're freaking
All
idiots.
so wrong.
Like, we knew what was gonna happen.
probably. I mean, I feel like with the course of the show, a lot of times I have not predicted what has happened accurately. Like, when I think something's going one way, it almost always goes a different direction, so I think that's probably how it's going to end, too. It's going to be some sort of plot twist. We just don't know what it's going to be yet.
Exactly.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna wrap that up. That was the podcast for this week on Game of Thrones. I believe next week we're gonna have Slay as our host. We don't really know what it's gonna be about quite yet, unless we're doing
Well,
your idea.
yeah.
Doing the
You'll find out.
Yeah,
you'll
you'll
find
find
out.
out.
We're
next week.
procrastinators, so we figure this out like the night before. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
We're not gonna let you know just so you have to tune in.
Yeah.
I know there's no one out there right now, but
But once there is, we're piquing your interest.
yeah, exactly. All right.
Well,
See ya.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.